Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian, know nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live, listening to replay. This is the vault, episode 416. Trust is more than a document. Res. So we're going to talk about it today. A long-awaited topic. So many people reach out to the vault, be it consultations, and they hop on the line and they say, oh, I have a trust, or they have this, they have that, but when it comes down to it, sometimes they just have the EIN number. You know, we give people, they come to the vault, they have what you would say is a shell of a document. So quite a few people will come through and they'll actually have what they consider a shell of an entity. Right. But they don't know how to run it. So the res is the actual property, not just the document you've been sold. Oh, there's actual property that the trust is holding. Yes, there's actual property that the trust is holding. Okay, so we're going to get into it. Appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. This is The Vault, episode 416. Trust is more than a document. Res. Very important point to come out, because we've had this come up in consultations for years now. Oh, well, we have a 98 number. Or we have some EIN number. Or we have just a trust document. Well, we're at the vault. People listen to the vault. Our core audience listens, and they understand that it's about the management. But what are we managing? What are we really talking about managing right now? We're talking about managing property. And this is where we get into a really unique situation when we're talking about, oh, well, we're just trustees. And I guess people say they don't know what they're doing. We're not guessing. This is what we hear in the consultations. So this episode is the preface to individuals or families that are in these positions that are saying well, we're in trust, right? We're even going to go so far as in the past week, we've heard someone say they're in a charity and they don't even have the res. This is what we're talking about. The res today. The actual property. The actual physical, tangible thing. Sure, the document is the legal title to the property, but where's the equity? Where is the res? Let's talk about that. So this episode is dedicated to the individuals and families that reach out to the vault throughout the years, and they've asked these questions. Well, how do we operate if we don't have a res? Well, let's just go ahead into it today. It doesn't need to be legal advice or financial advice. This is the conversation for the people that are enrolling, that are getting consultations. So let's talk about it. Were they sold something? A document? They were sold something. Okay, let's go there. So where is the property that it was created for the benefit of the beneficiary? Where is the property? What is the piece of property that it was started with? Here we go for all the Dodgers. You know who the Dodgers are. They would begin with a B, the Brooklyn, but the T's, the T Dodgers. So what is the res is the beginning, the property itself. We don't have to say it has to be the beginning, but when we're having a conversation, whether it's with a lawyer, whether it's with accountants, not too many accountants, but more so the lawyers, when we talk about the res of the trust, we're talking about that property. What started the trust? That's for the benefit of the beneficiary. What are grantors just starting trust for no reason nowadays? This is why the mentor said, don't give it to poor people. Don't give the knowledge to poor people. What are they going to give? Do they have anything to give? Do they have property? Because if you have property, you have assets, something that holds value.
When you have property, you have assets. That's property. So we get into this conversation now, property, real property, we call real estate. Now they've categorized real estate as a whole separate category from, to a degree, as real property. They're to a degree, you can look into the laws, but when you talk about real property and real estate, they're not completely the same as much as they used to be. When you look at real estate, they kind of subsected it over into its own legislative embodiment. You know, they got a whole association around being a realtor and not swindling people in real estate. So when we talk about it in the real property category, you're talking about your real property, your diamonds, your pearls, your collectible art. These are real pieces of property that are going to accrue interest, that are going to grow in asset value. What about your wedding ring? What about a designer pair of anything? These are pieces from these designers that are successful that, maybe 50 to 100 years from now, that's going to be a very important piece. You could sell it at auction. If not, they're going to sell it at your estate sale to give the family money. If not, they'll just be sitting on display. Or given to the next generation. Who knows? Creating a legacy for future generations is, what do you want it to look like? What property is being passed along? What assets are being passed along? Let's talk about this res. Because, okay, oh man, trust Christian to vote. I know I gotta do the minutes. You hear that? I know I gotta do the minutes, trust Christian in the vault. I gotta do the minutes. That's on the paper. That's not the res, right? That's not the res. It's the document. I'm doing the minutes. So you're doing the minutes. Yeah, I'm doing the minutes. Okay, what about the actual property itself? People come back, well, what schedule does that go on? The schedule that the trust document says. Well, I'm the trustee. I got to figure it out. Figure it out. Schedule A, Schedule B, Schedule C, minute A, minute B, whatever it is. You got the minutes covered, right? Because the minutes aren't the rest. So where's that property being held at right now? And does that come with a fee? Property just isn't held for free. It's held with a fee. Your money is held at a bank with a fee. They give you back minimal in interest at a bank, and they hypothecate on the private side. They lend out to other people at the bank and charge them a higher interest rate so they can make money. It's really not a hard concept. They have a res. You deposit the money at the bank. We're talking about many different types of trust because there's over 80. We're talking about the charitable trust. There's many of those as well. Let's talk about it. What is the property that the Harvard endowment is holding as opposed to some Joe Schmo family estate uh, entity? They're holding real estate. They're holding real property. They're invested in precious metals. You have to have a diversified portfolio when you have $1 billion assets under management. You have to diversify the portfolio. So now we actually seen, actually it's funny, we've seen in the news over the past few days, is the 60-40 rule back in place in the public sector of investing. Well, look at the current sector. Walmart just announced that they're cutting earnings. And guess what? Their stock fell over 8% in one day. Oh wow, these big companies, let's go blue chip. Let's go blue chip. You want to go blue chip, right? Oh man, there's no way Walmart could lose money. What are you talking about? Walmart just announced that they lost money, doofus. Walmart, the middle class company, the company for poor people that people shop at, that the lower class business that's going to be able to be held up. If Walmart's not able to make their numbers, what makes you think in this current environment that many other companies are going to be able to hold their earnings? That's a caveat for all the ones that are talking about buy the dip. What you buying Walmart? What your financial investor doing the 60-40 rule and they putting you back in Walmart? We're not promoting Walmart. We're not talking against Walmart. We're talking about the objectivity of what just happened in the past 24 hours on 7/27, previously on 7/26, 2022. This is the facts. We can report the numbers because they just reported the numbers. It's not an accident. They told you why their stock fell 8% in a day because they're not going to hit their numbers. So if a middle class company, it's just a huge company, obviously, but it caters to lower income people, how did they not hit their numbers? Because there's a supply chain issue going on right now. You're not above the supply chain, even though you need products. It's almost worse than the 2020 situation because you can go in stores right now and literally you can see things that haven't shown up for almost a week. You can see that. But oh no, maybe I live in the middle of nowhere and I guess we're getting the same food every week. Sure. But when you're living in metropolitan places where they have to have high amounts of food for people, there are things that are missing. They don't need to call for a recession. They have supply chain issues. It's been going on for over a year. They already showed you that it's been going on over a year. Since last November and beyond. It's been going on for a year. There's been supply chain issues. Semiconductor chips have been at a supply chain shortage for literally over a year. Over a year. And they're still going through it. Still to this day. They're trying to pass a bill in the government to get these companies to create companies in the United States to give them tax cuts and subsidies so they can, give people jobs in America to build a semiconductor chip in the United States. And so that's where we are. But back to the episode at hand. Trust is more than a document there is. This is from consultations throughout the years. Oh, I have, what did they say? Some of them even say they have a document. They have the document. So where's the property that the trust was started with? That is nowhere in the conversation. Why? Because these are people that this is what the mentors say, they shouldn't have the information because they don't have anything. Why? Because a trust is started with something. It started with the res. It started with property. That's what it started with. The trust is started with property. Point blank period. It could be a watch. What are you given as the grantor? Oh, well, the lawyer created the document for me. They're the grantor, and I'm just the trustee. And then my children are the beneficiary. But they never talk about what's the res. What is the property to trust? Well, I was just going to put some money in there. I was going to figure out how to do that. I was going to open up the bank account, and then I was going to put some money in there. That's how I was going to figure it out. I was going to figure it out, right? This is what we hear coming to the vault. They don't say they're going to figure it out. They contact the vault because they're trying to figure it out. They contact the vault because they need to know what is it that they can move and proceed forth in a proper manner because they haven't had a discussion about the res. They were sold a trust document from the lawyer and that's where they're at. They barely opened up a bank account and that's why they're coming to the workshop because they got to get beyond that. There are people that say they're sitting in trust. They want to talk about it like, oh, I'm sitting in this entity, but I don't know how to drive it. I'm sitting in a Rolls Royce, but I don't know how to cut it on. That's literally what they say. I'm sitting in a Rolls Royce, but I don't know how to cut it on. I'm sitting in a Rolls Royce, but I don't know how to drive it. Well, really, most people don't drive their own Rolls Royce. It's a house. What are you driving a house around now? You got a house and you're driving it around. Wow. Sounds exciting. What's the property of that? What's the res of the company that's owning that Rolls Royce? The property itself. The Rolls Royce. That's the res. That's the property. They put the property, the Rolls Royce, in trust. They're the trustee. Whether you're driving it or sitting in the back, hey, who knows? We definitely had to do this episode. Because we're going to refer many trustees to this episode about the fact that, hey, as you go through trustee training, you might want to start thinking about what's going to be the res of the trust immediately. Because if you didn't come to trustee training with the res, when are you going to have a res in trust? Property in trust, not just a document, not just an EIN number. Oh man, I got the EIN number. This is where we are. We're giving people the conversations uh, that we get at the vault. These aren't hypotheticals. Traditionally, they're conversations that we're having with people that are coming through the training, or people that are that we want to refer back to this episode, because we have done episodes in specific for trustees, and this is just another one. This is for the core audience of trustees that still tune in, that are going to come to the workshop. That this is to give them content before they get to the workshop, before we get going into the workshop, because it's rather important to go over and actually had these conversations like, are you thinking about the res? Oh man, I didn't really know I needed to think about that. I thought I just needed to get in trust. I'm just trying to get into the private side. I'm trying to protect my name. I'm trying to protect my assets. So what is your name worth? Oh man, I put a UCC on it, and then I'm with it worth $100 billion, and guaranteed you will never work to even equivalent to even have an equivalent of $100 million. Why? Because that takes real work. That's not easy. It's easy to write on paper, and then it's a little bit different to manifest. Oh man, what you mean? I can't just say my name's worth that, and then it's not worth that in gold, or it's not worth that. This is where we're gonna lose them now. Oh, the numbers are gonna fall off. Why? Because they don't want to hear that they worth $1 million in the United States as a debt corporation, and it's going under, and then every citizen owes money, and all of this garbage. It's called garbage. Do you hear that garbage? It's a debt-based mentality. What you thinking about it for? That's business. Some businesses can operate actually and be in the red. It's good that the country owes the citizens something. It ain't bad completely. Oh man, you gotta say it like that, Trust Christian. We thought you'd be against the debt and all this other stuff. First of all, most people have their houses in the public because of the hypothecation. When are we gonna get over the child's play? They have their houses because of hypothecation. They're buying houses supposedly that are out of their financial means, so they have it's literally hypothecated, and they're buying these houses supposedly. They're literally just putting themselves on a, instead of it being a lease, it's called a mortgage. You hear the difference? Instead of a lease, it's called a mortgage. What's the res? The property itself. Somebody typed into the chat, you must be talking to me. I have the card, but I don't know how to start it. But I can't turn it on. And that's what Trustee Training provides. It provides the training for that, because we understand that many people are in those situations, and you have to have a system of education in place. That's ultimately what needs to be put in place for yourself, for your successors, and that's what the workshop and the trustee training is all about. Is making sure your successors have something to stand on. If you have something to stand on, you have a footing in the ground. Even in the res of the trust, it's not just a property for financial gain. It could be for educational gain. It could be for many different types of gain. There are many different types of gain in uh, the world. Obviously, some gains aren't necessarily always quantifiable when you talk about certain things, but everybody tries to attach uh, people try to attach a financial or some type of financial measurement to different assets. So, even if you had a computer, or you had, how people have a lot of information on a hard drive, people may say, well, this information on a hard drive is worth a ton of money. That's how people make things quantified out nowadays. So we're in this age of what we call, what is it, intangible assets. Now they have tangible assets, the property, the res itself, and then we're in the age now where there's intangible assets, there's intellectual property, there's IP. So we're in that category nowadays of when you're out here and you're pursuing goals and dreams and ventures. We're talking about real property. Now we're getting into what's considered intangible, what's tangible. I mean, these are things that when you're having conversations with the lawyers, with the accountants, you got to be able to have these conversations and talk to them about it. We can have those conversations. That's what we train our trustees to focus in, and have these conversations from a position of, you're hiring a lawyer, you're hiring an accountant. It's always been that way. All these people work for you. Financial advisor works for you. Oh man, the financial advisor works for me. Yeah, so he calls me and tells me the crappy investments that literally everybody else is investing in and losing money right now. He has a series license or she has a series license, and so they can only really recommend a moderate or slightly aggressive or aggressive portfolio. They're never going to give me, they're going to give me company within the parameters or suggest things to me within the parameters of what their company is risk tolerance is. But what if my risk tolerance is a little bit different? Exactly. That's where we are, ladies and gentlemen, is being able to identify these risks, identify risk tolerance. The res is dealing with the property, though. We're going to stick to that. The property is something that is so critical to the document, to the EIN number, or whatever it is. What is the property being, quote unquote, held, managed, grown? Everybody said they got a trust document. They contact the vault. Oh, I got a trust, but I need training. That's what we're here for. But then when sometimes people come in, they're like, oh, well, we ask them, well, what's your property? And they say it's their name. Okay, you put that in trust. Oh, here we go. Here's the biggest new piece of property that people want to put in there, put in trust, is their body. How do I put my body in trust? Let's think about that. How do you put your body in trust? When you pass, does your family have rights to the body, or does the family estate have rights to the body? It's a really simple equation. Does the family trust, the family estate, the family have rights to the body? Did you create a legal and a public side document that states that? Oh man, I put that in my will on the public side, so now everybody knows my body goes to my family or the people that I designate. It's public record. That's a beautiful thing. It's up for public record. So it's no misunderstanding of where that property is to be given or held or administered. That's what we're talking about. The property. How many people really want to have their bodies in trust? That's probably that's the 60-40 rule right now. That's the 60-40 rule. We're getting 60% of the people reaching out talking about can they put their body in a trust. How do I put my body in trust? Do you think we making this up? We could make it up. That's not a state. Have you ever heard that before? Or maybe you're trying to do it. And we know this because that was the question that we've got. 60-40. Resounding over the past months, years. How do I put my body in trust? Trust Christian in the vault. Trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. Do you really own your body? This is the easiest way to put it. Possessive or non-possessive. Not only that, property, physical property. Did you create the minute for the res? Did you create the minute for the res, for the property? I didn't create the minute for my body yet. Right. So how you think it's going to be administered properly if you didn't even create the minute for it? You got to create the minute for the property. Contract makes the law. It's the private contract first. The private came before the public. No one can say that. It's like when the families used to write people's family name in the Bible. You can Google it. People used to write their family's history in a Bible. Right. Well, sounds like a trust document. Sounds like the minutes of them keeping track of families in the private. Because there's a separation of church and state. Who you worship privately has nothing to do with the public. Separation of church and state. Appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listen, replay. Always appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listen, replay. Feel free to reach out, Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, that's Christian at trustchristian.com. We look forward to seeing people at the workshop. We actually have quite a few people that reached out. We're gonna end the sales for the what is that? For the VIP here on Saturday, or will we consider the what is this? VIP tickets will end on the 30th of July. So we look forward to hearing from everybody that reaches out. VIP tickets will end on what is that? The 30th of July. Uh, and we look forward to seeing everybody else there. It's going to be a beautiful time, beautiful day. Uh, we've always had great rooms. We probably could speak a lot more highly of it. We recently did some testimonials. We're going to bring maybe some more footage to the vault here, rather quickly after this workshop. So we look forward to sharing that with people that haven't really seen what's going on behind closed doors. But it is what it is. So trust is more than a document for sure. Um, and that's just how life is. We got to talk about these things. We talk about these things at the workshops, of course. So, this is a question that comes up sometime at the workshop when we talk about property, people talking about property. So we just had to talk about it today in advance so we can have more an advanced conversation at Trustee Training. See, we're always feeding content to our trustees. And that's why our program is ever evolving. So we look forward to seeing the new trustees at the workshop. We look forward to everybody at the VIP dinner. We look forward to seeing everyone on the front end of the workshop as well from 9 to 5. Uh, for the most part, we've actually had pretty much, what they say, a sellout show. Whoa, when it comes to the VIP, the VIPs are actually way more than the traditional tickets. So we look forward to people just being at the dinner. That's going to be something that's going to be exciting to connect with people. But like you say, those tickets are going to end on the 30th. There's no coming after the 30th. We have to make sure that we're doing everything on our end. So, you know, the people that follow the channel heavy, this is always a workshop for trustees, but even people that are rather new to the channel, we always appreciate you all and letting you know about the workshop coming up. You all can see the details on the screen there. Uh, Christian at trustchristian.com. You can feel free to reach out. We'll send you all the details for the workshop if you're looking for VIP tickets. Gotta let us know before the 30th of July, no later than the 30th, and that's how that'll go. But it's going to be exciting. This workshop's definitely going to be featuring Trust Christian. Definitely going to be going over trust, foundations, charitable investments. Trustee training from a leadership perspective, coming at it from a perspective of communications, being able to communicate from one generation to the next, how you pass that information along, and tools to do so. Then we're going to be followed up by a Victor, ultra high net worth investor, financial advisor. This is someone that has what we've done an episode on him called "How to Start a Family Bank," or yeah, "How to Start a Family Bank." You can go, YouTube that episode, "How to Start a Family Bank." It's the vault. Um, so when you go and listen to him, or when you sit in a room with Victor, you're going to be going over really just the same thing we just talked about with the banks and how they're hypothecating on the public side. We're talking about it now, from the private perspective and making sure that the family is in a position where they're preserving the wealth because every dollar that the family earns is losing value every second. Even though the dollar's at almost a 20-year high right now in the public market, 7/27/2022, which is literally July 27th American calendar, July 27th, 2022. They literally, on the public market are making it look all cozy wozy, and the dollar is at an all-time high because people understand that's a currency basket. It's not just the dollar in there by itself. So that's one thing. Secondly, uh, when we talk about preserving the money, you just got to make sure that you're not losing it to inflation, deflation, stagflation, anyation. All right, and the way you do that obviously is by having a private family bank. The bank is lending out money at an interest fee, and clearly you have to move in that position. That's just the bottom line. It's the people are talking about this whole crypto era and this new DeFi. We're gonna do decentralized finance. Sure. Yep. We'll see about that when the country that you're in still has a national currency. Do you hear that? The country that you're in has a national currency. And what currency is dominant of the day? It's actually laughable that Americans or even thinking that they're poor. How are you poor when you got money in other countries from the United States, the national currency? Because they're being fed a story, a narrative. Oh, we can print too much. Yeah, right. Let them tell you that. So, as you can see, the countries are still growing off of these national currency systems. If you think that's going to fall within 10 years, you're lying to yourself. If you think it's going to fall in 20 years, we could almost say you're lying to yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, the stock market has been around for over 100 years. There has been stock market crashes. There has been stock market crashes. Right away from the beginning, there was a stock market crash. And now we're in a what? Bear market. And where are we going to go from here in this bear market? Where are we going to go? Oh man, we can't keep going down. Maybe not. Is it over? We could say that it's not. When Walmart, one of the largest companies in the United States, announces that they lose their money and that they might end up flat this year or negative, they're letting you know the middle class is getting tore up right now, and that's the bottom line. That's just the bottom line. You think there is a middle class. There is no such thing as middle class. If you think we got people telling us stupid stuff, talking about there's three tiers of middle class: upper middle class, and lower middle class. Ladies and gentlemen, there will be no middle class in the next 10 to 20 years. The government can't uphold a middle class. It's either get skills or not. Skills pay bills. We've reported that at the vault. We've reported that in our history at the vault. Skills pay bills. The res can be an education, a piece of paper. Can it? Yes, it can. It's property. The education is property. It comes from Harvard. It comes from Duke. It comes from whatever school. That's property. That's why people have these endowments with these colleges, because they're investing in property, education, intellectual property, once again, IP. What's wrong with that? Oh man, I think I'm going to just cut it by being middle class. Trust Christian Involves here to give you a wake up call. What you just saw, what think about it, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to report the facts right now. The drivers that we have had have been all over 50 years old. Drivers. These people that are driving these Ubers and Lyfts right now, they're older. We've seen it for years now. They're older. Oh, I was a speech pathologist driving for Uber. And there's many of these other professionals. Retirement's going to look a little different for y'all millennials. Get ready. You think you're going to make it off Airbnbs? You're lying to yourself. Oh man, I'm going to make it off Airbnbs. Trust Christian Revolt, don't say that type of stuff. Don't say that type of stuff. That's not a good thing to say. Ladies and gentlemen, can everybody do it? It's the tea of the day. Get an Airbnb and then you're going to go sit on some beach in another country, because you're not going to have to change it in between people coming into the property. Who's changing the sheets? Who's cleaning the floors? Oh, I'm going to do it out of a house I'm living in. What about the ones that people say they're not living in, where they got multiple properties? Are they telling you the details of the business venture? No. Right. But they want to tell you to do the Airbnb. We're going to talk about it. We're not against it. We're not talking against it, but we're talking the facts. That this is the new get rich quick scheme. Huh? Get an Airbnb. Are you serious? Older people are driving Uber. Who do you think's renting out their property? They got the properties 20, 30, 40 years ago. They're actually trying to sell out of these properties right now. So they're trying to say it's the seller's market. Right. But if it was a seller's market, that means they could sell the property at whatever price they want. Do you think that's happening right now? Do you think the sellers are selling the properties for the prices that they want to sell the properties for right now? How are the interest rates are up? That's going against the seller's property appreciation money right there. So are you getting properties at a bottom fire discount price right now? No one wants to speak of it, except for the wealthy. See, we can talk about it, because properties are at a goddamn fire sale right now. They're going to continue to be at a fire sale. That's a fact. Oh man, they've been calling for it for 2 years. Oh man, since 2020 hit, 2021 hit, the fire sale, it actually began. Mid 2021. That's when people were buying houses like crazy. Supposedly, no. Companies were buying properties. We saw that. The companies were buying properties if you're in business the proper way. So we're going to go ahead and keep diving into this story here with a trustee. We had a trustee come to us recently. We always get these emergency trustees. Oh man, I'm trying to get a loan on my property because I own it all right. This is the story. I own this property outright. So that means they have no mortgage on it, but they're trying to get a mortgage on the property so they can go out and get money, have equity. They have equity. They have a res. They have property, but they're gonna hypothecate this now, not through their own private family bank, but through a public bank. They went and they got a public loan because they heard about this. You just sign your signature and you get some money. That's what they say. Okay, cool. They also got an interest rate. So they're gonna get this money and they're gonna get it at an interest rate that they're not in control of. The arbitrary interest rate right now, when y'all look at the market, was it 2020? Interest rate? Was it 2019 interest rate or the interest rate's higher? Well, the interest rate's higher. The interest rate's higher 2 years later. So is it really a seller's market or a buyer's market? So we're going to get back to the fact that this individual family, they're out here, they're like, hey, I need to get a loan. So they got a loan, but they said, hey, Trust Christian Revolt, we want to do it privately. We want to do it in trusteeship. Okay. Well, it looks like on the public side, that the public banks are usually going to give a public entity a loan. Okay, I got a corporation. It's new. Let's see if we can make it happen. Right. We had to press them for 30 days. Well, I don't know if I could do it, Trust Christian Revolt. I'm really busy. Right? We'll get it done. Call the bank and ask them. Did they get it done 30 days later? Yes, they did. Because guess what? At Trust Christian Revolt, we get things done. We don't have time to make excuses. You got to get things done. What's wrong with asking the bank? Don't ask, don't get. This is as simple as that. We told them that. We went over that. Oh man, I asked, they got it done, right? And this is a credit union. Unfortunately, it's a credit union. Not the end of the world. It's still a credit union. Oh, they got the corporation on the loan. Exactly. So now you started out the way that we remember when we were 20 years old. We had a friend, him and his dad. They started a real estate company, and they bought a. They actually, his dad had a property, and the property that he had, he just refinanced it with a corporation on there when they wanted to go into real estate. And then after that, what they did was that real estate company there, it started another real estate company, and that real estate company went out and started acquiring property. So they knew how to create asset separation from the beginning. I was really happy to see that, especially at an early age. It was definitely before 25 years old. This guy and his dad, they were definitely doing real estate that way, and they were literally rehabbing homes. Focused on kind of like the Robert Kiyosaki philosophy, doing ARVs, making sure their numbers were there. Maybe they did do a few short sales. They did create a network at one point. And so for when we lost contact with them, they had at least about 7+ properties. And so this was keeping their wives at home, and then in turn to work and raise their families. Then on the back of that, the gentlemen were obviously focused on making sure that they could have the capital to be at home with their families as well. And that's what they were working on. The father was halfway retired, and the son was working part-time, so he really wasn't focused on traditionally doing business. He was focused on actually traditionally working a job. He was focused on building a business. Building a business, with his dad in the real estate. That's what he's focused on doing. So we'll be back to the story of the trustee. As of recent, I look forward to connecting with this trustee as well. This trustee knows who we're talking about. Um, we're talking about the trustee that, made sure that they got the corporation on the loan that they took out on a property. We're talking about it from a business perspective because that's the most important thing. A lot of people don't think they could do it. A lot of people have paid off properties that they don't just go and whether they want to get a loan on it, they don't get the loan with the what is that with a corporation. A lot of people just don't ask, so they don't get, and that's the bottom line. And so, pressing the trustee to get the job done, they got the job done. Really happy for them to hear that information because it's rather important. It's that's what it's all about. When trustee comes back, sends a positive email and says, "Hey, I got something done." When you hear trustees having progress, that's the most important thing. So, it's not just it's the document. We're talking about actually actions and getting things done as well. So, really excited in that department. Somebody typed into the chat. What about the crypt? What about crypto in the future? Uh, well, when we talk about crypto in the future, we're just talking about an encryption system, a more supposedly sophisticated encrypted system uh, and ledgering system over the internet. You got to understand, why wouldn't the government want their hands on the most sophisticated encrypted system out there? It's like only silly people really think that the government doesn't want their hands on the most powerful technology when it comes to encryption right now. So it's like, what are public people thinking? Oh man, we're just going to be able to put enough individual money together and build some type of what infrastructure that the government's not going to have access to when it's on the World Wide Web that's regulated by the government. First of all, websites get shut down all the time. Websites shut their own selves down, let alone the government coming in and shutting your website down. So, and that's just the facts. And then when we've seen over the past 5 years with the crypto, there are states that have just kicked out crypto companies. We're not talking about the federal government. We're talking about the state government. The state government at times has kicked out some of these crypto companies. And that's just the facts. So is it one of those things, oh, well, they don't have the legislation to regulate this stuff? Sure, they don't. And they kicked them out. You hear how that works? It's not as free market as you think. It's free market. We heard that. But at the same time, why wouldn't the government want their hands on this so-called encrypted technology? It's encrypted technology. It's a ledgering system. It's supposed to be. It shows that obviously whatever you're using Web 2.0 right now is dog crap. That's just the facts. That letting you know all the public companies that you're using on the public side are seriously trash when it comes to encryption. Because if the encryption that's supposed to be the most sophisticated on the internet right now is not even in the mainstream or in the public market yet, as far as encryption, we're talking about in the public market. It could be with banks, it could be with social networks when they have your information. We had a great idea for social security, not literally the term, but actually because when you have an ID online, you're going to see more and more of these crypto companies popping up talking about they're going to help you with your security. Yeah, right. The whole concept, it says we're a secure company, right? Right. Do you understand that they're utilizing public platforms? You still have to have high levels of disclosure. The public market is more liberal than it's ever been. It's liberal. People are scared to say, oh, there's no such thing as privacy. That's what they're saying in the public market. There's no privacy anymore. Well, if there's no privacy in the public market, which obviously on the public market is not going to have privacy, then the encryption is not particularly private. We want to call it a fugazi, but we're not. Why? Because it sounds like, oh, how could you say that about the crypto? Whatever. Like, did you build your life over in the metaverse yet? That's where we're at. That's what we're talking about. Did you build your life in the metaverse? No. Let's get back to this real property. We're not just talking about intangible property. We can have those conversations. Those are intangible things that equal equitable value on some pieces of paper with net profits and what they call it net worth. And we talk about those things. That's fair. But let's also have a diverse portfolio. Let's get back to what the asset managers and the public are talking about right now. Is the 60-40 rule back in play? Let's talk about that. The asset managers that are managing hundreds of millions and billions, the people that are managing serious money, when they're talking about is the 60-40 rule back in place. And people want to talk about is crypto. Is that even a conversation? Well, is the 60-40 conversationers having those conversations? Sure, we have those conversations. That's not a priority right now. Why? Because when you hear the gurus on the internet say, oh, you got to be in real estate, does that sound like crypto? Or is crypto just going to be everything? Internet's everything. It's everything. Yeah, right. We're gonna be done with that because we don't want to rant and rave on what they call fugazi. We think about it. How many pump and dumps have you seen in the industry so far? Right. It's because it's unregulated. So when we go over to the public side, have we seen some pump and dumps happen? Sure, we've seen a few happen, but not as many as we've seen in this situation in the crypto market already. And if you think that rollover is done, how can the rollover be done when the public market is just as cyclical as that market? It's just as cyclical as that market. They're both cyclical. It's unfortunate that so many people that don't know how to pick winners and losers, They're betting on dogs that haven't even proven that they can race. Not proving that they can win a race, proving that they can race. Appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listen, replay. Always appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listen, replay. Once again, it's going to be an awesome workshop. I look forward to seeing people at the VIP dinner. Those tickets are going to end here on the 30th of July. And we just look forward to seeing everybody at the workshop. Christian at trustchristian.com. You want to reach out, whether that's consultations or going into the workshop, being in contact with us. We look forward to hearing from you. Enjoy the rest of the day. Peace and joy.